Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for joining for the third training for our Baltic International Student SketchUp Competition 2026, BISSUC. Welcome. Today we have our lecturer, Kārlis Bruņenieks from Latvia, from the main reseller, SIA Infera Latvia. And today, Kārlis will show the process, the workflows, best practices of the visualizations with V-Ray for SketchUp. Hello, Kārlis.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. Labas dienas. Labdien visiem. So, seminar again is going to be held in English. And I'm going to change my view now. Hopefully, you can see my screen well. So,
Yes, all good.
starting about visualization tools from Chaos. So, if we visit Chaos webpage, you'll see some of the best visualization tools in industry. A few main ones. Right now, the most popular one for architectural design phase is Enscape, which gives some fantastic real-time rendering solutions abilities. For kind of the next step for creation of high-end marketing images, the one that's most popular one is Corona Renderer. It doesn't work inside of SketchUp. It's mostly used in tools like 3D Max. And what you can do there is, for instance, you create your design using tools like Enscape and V-Ray, and in the next phase, when you need to create fantastic animations as well in the highest quality. Well, here's an example: a company from Latvia, Harris Kalinka. They create these super high-end golf course visualizations, and it's kind of the next step where you want it's the best possible quality that you can. So there's need for animation, for special effects, but maybe not so much in this early design phase. So together, V-Ray, Corona Renderer, and Enscape can fall in these three separate phases for design. And the one I started with, it's almost 10, 12 years ago, is V-Ray, and it gives the most flexibility in the ways you can render either even on a very bad computer. You don't need a very high-end graphics card for Enscape. Also, what's fantastic for V-Ray is that you can choose to render on a separate computer. For instance, you have your main laptop where you create your designs, and a separate one where you send all your scenes to render as a local render farm. Or, for instance, you can also use these services like Chaos Cosmos and Chaos Cloud, where you can render everything uh, in remote servers. That, for instance, if you need to render 10 scenes in an hour, it's just impossible to do that on your local machine, right? And a fantastic service that's connected with all these tools is also Chaos Cosmos, which gives you hundreds of gigabytes of assets as 3D models, as materials, as environments, and special objects. And you can simply access them just from your V-Ray or Enscape subscription. And it's integrated quite well inside of all these tools. So you don't necessarily need to open some separate websites to access these models. And I've also found Chaos Cosmos service as a fantastic tool to show to designers where, for instance, they need to create some mood boards. So they can simply go to this library, copy the image, and then to their preferred software and paste them in as very high quality PNG images. So that's an interesting use case for this earlier design stage as well. And to jump into our project, so this is the model I created for creating these initial marketing images, where you can see I've applied realistic materials in SketchUp. So, for instance, I can already see water kind of looks like water. There's some reflections in the glass. There's some level of realism, at least. But one problem is that it's kind of not enough for realistic visualizations, right? So, first thing I would do when starting visualization scene is don't try to render everything all at once. So what I've done is I just created this section of the bridge as a component, and I've pressed right click, save out, and saved it separately as a SketchUp model. So if I open it now in a separate SketchUp file, the file size jumps from 200 megabytes to 20, and it's going to be much easier to manage everything, especially when you're testing out some specific materials, effects. It's not a good idea to do it maybe in your main scene. And about the connection with the main file, for instance, if I were to move these people around, I could just save the model, and when jumping back in the main model, I'm going to press right click, reload, and I'll be able to access the newest version. Let me see. Looking at these people, will they shift to the right? Yeah, they did. So perfect. I can start with my scene at least. And the first thing I wanted to show for the easiest way to visualize, not to go into many technicalities, it would be to use Enscape. So I'm going to launch it as a browser. It's a smaller scene, so it should load in just a few seconds. Right now, Enscape is the most popular one in this design development phase for architects, because it has fantastic connection with the software itself, be it SketchUp or Revit. And there's fantastic possibilities to use a VR headset as well, and in real time, where I could may change scene a bit. If I move around in SketchUp, I'll be able to see the new view in Enscape as well, and it's already decent quality. What's great about Enscape as well, it's recognized these PBR materials I applied to my SketchUp model already, and for things like water and grass, if I simply change the name of this material from glass sky reflection to, say, water, let me look at the Enscape model now. It looks like water. I'm just gonna change the size of the model for a moment. And if I were to create some animations in Enscape, then you'll see some movement as well. For instance, if I choose objects like trees, they're gonna move around in the wind as well. So I can do the same thing to objects like grass as well. I'm gonna change the name from soil to grass. And already I can see a bit more realistic view, at least. And it takes the color of this soil material. If I needed to change it, then I can just now use, say, Enscape Material Editor. I'm going to select this grass material. I'm just going to make it taller. And it became a bit taller at least. So with Enscape, I can make the materials look a bit at least more realistic. I can also access, let me see, Enscape object libraries. I just need to hide this view finally. So let me open up this asset library and you'll be able to see this Chaos Cosmos service where I can choose, for instance, a 3D model, choose some people, for instance, and place them inside my model. And I can see inside of SketchUp, it shows as a simplified proxy form, but inside of Enscape, it's very realistic already. So this is how you can manage to create very realistic scenes just by substituting them as simple proxy objects. And in Enscape, I will be able to make some animations as well and see changes from the SketchUp model. But already what I can say is there are limitations. In Enscape, you're not able to create highly complex materials or lights. If it's more static renders you need as well, then I would really suggest to use Enscape V-Ray. So I'm gonna turn off this real-time render right now. Jump back into my full scene. And you'll see I already have V-Ray installed, and I'm going to simply try to render. Let's see what I get. So the view is quite different. For landscape, it's usually kind of optimized for real-time viewing, and all the materials are a bit more saturated. There's this auto exposure that also overblows a few materials as well. But in V-Ray, you get realistic lighting. In Enscape, it's more like a game engine for better real-time viewing. But when accuracy is necessary, then that's the point that it starts with V-Ray. What I can already see as well is that, for instance, the object inserted through Enscape library, it appears in V-Ray render as well. And also the material I changed for water, it works with V-Ray as well. So you do not have to rebuild the whole scene. Objects and materials are respected throughout these tools. And the main goal is for everything to be backwards compatible as well. Maybe in a few years, but mostly the main things work right now. And the same thing also about these PBR materials I had applied from SketchUp. I can see they already work as well. I don't have to remake everything. To make this scene look a bit better, at least, what I'm gonna do. First off, I like to simplify the scene a bit when I'm gonna work with specific materials, lights. I don't necessarily want everything to work. So in V-Ray settings, it's a good idea to use material override. So all the materials are going to be replaced with a simple gray material. Also, I'm going to choose for rendering my GPU. It's already 2 generations old, and that's the most capable one, but my computer processor is worse. So I'm going to use my video card. And I'm going to lower the rendering resolution a bit as well, so I could better enjoy real-time rendering options. So for safety's sake, I'm going to save my project. And this time, I'm not going to use the simple render, but the interactive render. So what happens now? The scene, all the materials were replaced, and I could focus on the first lights coming from the sun and the sky and the general background. For instance, the first thing I'm going to look at is the sunlight. If I wanted to, I could turn it off as well if I'm going to make the evening scene. But opening up these extra section for lights, first thing I see, I'm getting really sharp shadows. So if I wanted to use sunlight, I'm going to change the size multiplier to, say, 10. 6 is kind of the minimum to get a realistic result. The second thing, I changed my view a bit more. I can already feel my computer is struggling a bit with streaming on these two separate places at once and rendering. And other thing I'm going to choose is turn on clouds. So I'm getting these nicer looking clouds in the background. So I wouldn't necessarily need to use some HDR environment. As it stands at this location, the sun, there's a cloud uh, right in front. So I'm getting everything in shadows. So I'm going to change the scene. All right, for a better view. And that's that. If I wanted to add some more clouds, I could change their density. I could also add these cirrus amounts. It's these more lighter clouds up more further up in the atmosphere. So that's the realistic light. I'm just gonna remove the clouds a bit too much already. And next up, I could focus on some of the objects I have in the scene. For instance, I'm not going to use these 2D cutout people. They're not too realistic. So I'm going to use this Chaos Cosmos library to replace them. A good idea is also always to have a separate tag for objects like people, like trees, so you can easily turn them off. So just going to turn off all these people. And I'm going to replace a few of them with these realistic ones. So opening up Chaos Cosmos, I'm going to look at 3D model libraries. And there's these sections with architectural elements, trees, vegetation, and I can browse everything that's online. Or if you already have something downloaded, I can just select this option, downloaded. So I'm not gonna just wait a second time, right? So, for instance, I see a boy reading a book. I could add it, simply import it in the scene, and there you have it. And next one, there's a guy enjoying the view. That's great. Someone on their phone. First, I'm just gonna place a few of these and then focus on next other objects. So all right, maybe I need a couple. Someone is showing off, and as I have a pool, of course, I could add some uh, some of these guys as well. So there's a quite diverse crowd of people here. So, and let's place someone in the water as well. All right. Saving the model, and I'm gonna try to render again. This time, not an interactive render, a simple one. So it's going to be easier to get to some more finished quality render at least. And what I want to see is, will I be able to see all these people now? Yeah, they're working. And if I wanted to test the look of these people, so I would see the materials that are applied to them. What I could do is select, look in V-Ray Asset Editor, and I see it selected automatically, and I could just choose to disable material override. And if I render again, I should be able to uh, see this lady in full color. All right, perfect. And I can do the same thing with materials as well. For instance, usually when rendering interiors as well, I want to know if the glass material looks okay. If I'm working just on the lights, I would also like the glass to uh, let all the light through. So looking at the material from Asset Editor, uh, I need to press Edit in V-Ray to start. I see there's proper reflections already applied. So only thing I'm going to do is going to disable override for a moment and check if the material works as well. All right, perfect. Everything's set. And about materials in rendering, uh, usually if you haven't already applied any kind of reflection in your SketchUp model, just go through all these objects and apply at least some level of reflection to all the faces. For instance, I see there was something applied to this material from SketchUp, but I want a bit more reflections so it wouldn't look too flat. So I can change the amount in the reflection and roughness, how diffuse this reflection is going to be. So the roof is going to be a bit more reflective. If I select the walls, I can see in SketchUp they appear a bit different because the material was edited a bit. But there's no reflection right now, so I could just add it and with a little bit of roughness as well. So everything needs to have some level of reflection. And for the wooden boards, it seems okay right now. I can see that some textures already came from this V-Ray, this SketchUp PBR material, at least. So if I need to add some more materials, something more realistic, for instance, for the roof, say, first thing is I'm just going to select a face in my SketchUp model. Then I'm going to open up Chaos Cosmos and where's this materials, for instance, metal. I see I had a few already downloaded. I check the online materials. And there's such a high amount. So what could we choose? So for instance, something with a bit of texture, brushed or galvanized. I'll choose this one, for instance, and then import it in my scene. And looking at V-Ray Asset Editor, it automatically has been selected. And I'm simply going to press right click and apply to selection. I think it worked, right? It was applied to this face, but this material itself is repeating in different places in my scene. So one of the most useful things you can do to prepare for easier renderings is go to Extension Warehouse and install a plugin called Material Replacer. It's this one. You'll also need to first install this TTLib plugin as well. So with Material Replacer, I'm able to go to Tools section, choose Material Replacer, select the material, and choose to replace it with the one I imported from V-Ray library. And that's it. Everywhere where this material repeats, it's now replaced with a more realistic one. And to see how it looks, I'm gonna disable this override. And render again. All right, I see. There's at least proper reflections for this material. So you don't have to create anything from scratch, at least use this Chaos Cosmos material library. And for them to look more realistic, one problem for my model at least is all these faces, their corners are sharp. So adding some level of fillet and bevel to edges is gonna make any metal material look a lot more realistic. What I wanted to replace here as well is these trees and plants because they are not gonna look too realistic in close-ups. So I have everything as a component. I'm gonna go inside and choose Chaos Cosmos Library to look for some vegetation. I can see what models have been already downloaded. So I'll use this one. All right. It's a lot smaller than the original one, but okay. I'm gonna maybe scale it up a bit. All right. And if I need to add some extra plants, maybe I have some flowers here now. Okay, I'll leave it with that. Right now, what I can see that all of these plant pots look the same. So another thing you could install is from Chris Fulmer tools, scale and rotate multiple. So I'll be able to select one of these pots, select all of these instances, and with this plugin, I'm just going to choose so Chris Fulmer tools, scale and rotate multiple, scale and rotate randomly, and choose for the scale factor, I'm going to leave it the same. And for rotation, say 360. Okay, it sounds good that I'm rotating these pots, but just to show this feature at least. All right, they were rotated very randomly. I'm gonna check again. Let's leave the scale. And scale about center is gonna leave the same base point in the middle at least. And so now I have some variation in this placement at least. And as well, if you wanted to change the size of these trees, I guess I could, but I would have to group these together. Would have to explode, select these V-Ray components again. And to add some variation, I'm going to choose the scale of these objects to differ from 0.9 to 1.2. Pressing OK. Now they're not so alike in size at least. So you need to add some variation at least. Here as well, I wanted to show a realistic tree. So I'm going to choose one. It's a bit too large, but I can just scale it down. All right. And let me see from this view, for instance, how everything looks. Saving the model again. I forgot to disable override, but already you can see now I have a tree with millions of leaves. It's going to look highly realistic in close-up view at least, and the shadows are going to be more accurate as well, because oftentimes from these PNG type leaves you get this very blocky view. So I have added materials, added a few realistic objects as well. And what happens with larger spaces here, for instance, I wanted to add some realistic grass. It was easy in Enscape. It's not actually that difficult in V-Ray as well, because for a while now I have this option to add fur to this object. You need to have it as a grouped face. It's maybe easier if you have even separate faces, but they're all inside the same group. So let me I see this for object right now. Probably at this moment I'm going to have to disable material override to see the results fully. So I'm going to make a very close-up view and to see if it actually works. It's a good idea to separate these grass patches for the close-up only. So you wouldn't render something that's a kilometer away from you, because with four I'm rendering already millions of these four strands, and they don't look too much like grass right now. But what I can do is go in the settings for four. I'm going to increase the count of these grass braids, increase the length, and for the glass length, I'm also going to add a texture. It's going to be a noise texture, where with these tonal values, I can change how high it's going to be. So where I can see white color, it's the maximum length. Where it's darker, where it's completely dark, it's gonna be zero level. So I can change this frequency, I can change the amplitude, and with this I should be able to see a nicer realistic view. At this moment I'm gonna increase the rendered image size as well. And again, a quick save, and let's see how my grass looks now. And here it's important what kind of texture you use, because all these strands are mimicking the color that's underneath that you applied as a texture. So it is possible to get some very interesting results if you choose a image where it's painted that there's someone has walked there, right? So what I can see already is a quite grainy picture, a bit too dark, but the grass is looks quite interesting, like in a field, because I choose the amplitude quite high. It's not like a golf course, right? And at this moment, I would like to change the exposure in this scene as well, because it is still dark. What I can do is open up this section by double clicking, and you'll see these visualization channels as these layers, right? I'm going to add a layer called exposure, and with it, I can increase the exposure in the scene. Usually to a level that I can easily see the objects I need. Of course, by increasing this exposure, I'm overblowing these highlights, and I can see if it's in a critical condition with this show clip color, right? So I can decrease the exposure specifically in highlights by decreasing with this slider. And look, I'm getting a lot more details back. And then if I need, I could play with contrast as well. And I'm at such a way, I'm editing the image in a non-destructive way, so I can simply turn on and off all these improvements, and that's it. So play around with grass. One thing I wanted to change is I'm not going to render it again for a moment, so I'm just going to turn it off. I'm going to choose this grass texture and increase its size. It looks weird maybe in SketchUp view, but when I'm going to render it, at least I'm going to get more these larger patches of grass in different color. So it wouldn't be repeating too much. So this is a nice, easy way how to add grass. And what about the next step? Of course, I'd say um, these exterior renders in daylight are quite easy. All you have to do is add this nice sky, materials, realistic models. But the interesting part is using different kind of effects and lights to really show what V-Ray is capable of. So uh, for a moment, I'm just going to turn off in the light section. I'm going to turn off the sunlight. I'm also going to, for a moment, disable all of these objects I added. So I guess I will have to uh, select them, right? I see these realistic objects and create a separate tag called V-Ray proxies and then turn them off for a moment. So if I render something, and I'm not gonna have to wait a minute while it loads inside of RAM memory, right? So I instantly get to see how these lights are gonna look like. So the first ones, I guess the main hero of this visualization is the pool. So I would like to add some lights inside of it. So I'm gonna go inside the pool. The lights are gonna come from the side. So I'm gonna choose two types of lights. First one is a rectangular light. I'm gonna draw it here. It comes as a rectangle, but if I go to into V-Ray settings, I can just choose to change its shape to a disk. I can change the color of this light. I can also increase directionality, so it's more projected to front. And that's that. But I'm not going to use it directly. It's going to suit more to look good at least. And render, the light itself is going to be created with a spotlight. A spotlight gives more control on the direction of the light you're projecting from it. So this is a spotlight. I'm gonna rotate it and place it at the same spot where I have this rectangle light. And usually I move it, say, at least 1 millimeter away from this rectangle light. And to see how it looks right now, um, for a moment, I'm gonna decrease the render size. When experimenting with lights, I like to use the interactive render. So let's see. I see there's some light coming from this disk. It's maybe too large. Let me increase it. I don't see any lights coming from this spotlight right now. So I'm going to go into light settings, choose the spotlight, and increase its strength, say by 100. And there you have it. Now I see this nice spotlight coming from it. I could increase it, say 5 times more. All right. I could, if I wanted to decrease this cone angle, so it's directed a bit more forward. I guess I'll just leave it at that right now. Looks okay. So I'm going to combine these two lights together, the spotlight and this rectangle light, as a single component. It's going to be a pool light. And I need to place it around the pool. Say I'm going to start from here, copy it to the other side, and divide by 10, for instance, or 8. I need them in the other side as well, so I'm just going to select them, choose the flip tool, and copy them to the other side as well. All right. If I check the render now, I should be able to see at least these nice lights in the pool. All right. Getting some interesting rhythm here as well. You could play with these kind of effects if you like. And I could use these lights as well inside of these plant pots. But what I'm going to do is turn it around. Explode it. And I want them to work as, for this one to work as a unique object. So I can simply press, let me show it in Asset Editor. So this is the spotlight that's in the pool right now. This rectangle light pool disk light. And for this one, I'm going to make it as a unique component, and it appears as a separate one. And I'm going to call it spotlight for the plant pot. And for it, I'm just going to decrease its strength and maybe add some interesting color to it. Make it blue. And for this disk light, the same. I can make it as a unique one and change its color to match the one that I choose for the light. I'm going to combine these as a component again. Do I have it as a component? Yes. So I'm just going to copy it, go inside the spots, paste it. And let's say I'm going to have 2 of these, each of these plant pots. And sadly, those are not components. All right, that's not great. So I'm just gonna paste them manually. All right. Other lights, I would like to add some LED lights to these steps. So I can just use the same rectangle light. First, I'm gonna place it on this side. And copy it around and scale it in a necessary size. It's gonna be a bit easier, I think. Already, I'm gonna connect them in a component, so it's easier to work with. And add these lights right now. They're on these steps, but I can simply scale them up and down. All right, and then there's just a question of flipping them in the proper direction with flip tool and place them below these steps. And the same for the lower ones. All right, and I see the lights for steps. I'm just gonna change it to something so more powerful and change the color. And let's see how it looks in the visualization right now. All right, I can see some of these lights. If it doesn't work, it probably was just placed too high and inside of these. Uh, just lower them a bit. All right, should work now, and the same for these two. Let me check again. I'm gonna turn on these V-Ray proxy objects as well. It does take a bit more, a better computer to render high amount of geometry with video card. As usually for RAM, for a processor, you have a lot more RAM, but it's easy to run out when working with video card if you don't have more than say eight gigabytes, right? So I see at least everything works. All these lights. I just want to add a few more using Chaos Cosmos to show these lights, say for outdoor use. Um, they don't look too great, but I could maybe choose this one. Let's see how it looks. Oh, it's a very small one. And what other options? It's very urban design, right? But okay, just to show how it works, I'm just gonna place a few of these. And when looking through Asset Editor, there's an option to increase the light. So these objects from Chaos Cosmos already have some lights inside of them. You don't have to manually place them separately. Also, if I wanted to add some interesting, say, light objects, I could simply say, I'm gonna model some kind of object inside the pool, for instance. All right. I'm gonna group it and I can create this as a mesh light. So when rendering, it's gonna give out some light. Say uh, some warmer light. So there's a large pool noodle inside of the pool, and it should give some light in the scene. Let me see if it works correctly. All right, there it is, giving out some light in the scene. And I see there's some light coming from these lamp posts as well. So the last thing I wanted to do is add some visual effects to make the scene look more 3D, or actually to hide some things in the scene in the background. And for V-Ray, there's an option to go in these settings panel, open up the section on the left, and you'll see option to turn on volumetric environment, where I can choose that the visibility range is going to be, for instance, only say 200 meters. I can change the color of the fog I'm going to see. And let me check how it's going to look already. I'm going to choose a bit, not such a wide perspective with zoom to say 40. Let's save the scene. Gonna start the render now. And it should have a quite a different feel now. All right. There's quite a lot of fog in the scene, maybe too much. Um, if I would focus maybe a bit more on this foreground elements, it could look better. There's a bit too much happening. But still, in this foreground, at least looks a bit better. So let me change just a few things. I'm gonna decrease the size of this pool noodle. I will try a more of a close-up view. I'm gonna choose for camera a 2-point perspective. And an extra thing I wanted to do is I'm gonna use focus. So in camera settings, I'm gonna turn on depth of field effect. I'm gonna choose focus point, for instance, on this person, and I'm gonna increase the focus amount quite a bit to get a more artistic uh, result. And the last thing I wanted to change right now is to go to this render elements section. I'm gonna choose light mix. All right. And for a moment, I'm gonna turn on the sunlight as well. And to prepare for this final render, I have it in, I'll have it in a higher resolution. I'm going to increase the quality and have it rendered with both CPU and GPU for faster results. So for safety's sake, I'm going to save it and prepare for my final render. Everything should be set up nicely. So I'm going to start the render and talk a bit about these effects that I've added as well. One other thing is if you have a higher quality, so I don't see the sun because the atmosphere height is a bit too much, I guess. Another thing I'm going to change. There you have it. I crashed my SketchUp scene. So I'm gonna jump up in back again. So yeah, it's a bit getting a bit risky to render it out with CPU in the same time that I'm streaming on two platforms. So I'm just gonna leave it rendering with just my GPU. And for my experience working with both Windows and a Mac for Mac Pro for the last year now, it seems that for simpler renders in with these new Mac M4 processors, they run just super fast to start rendering the scenes on this older Windows computer. You have to wait always these a few seconds before it loads into this memory before I can render something. So I'm gonna choose just my uh, video card, render it again. Oh, I forgot, yeah, about this volumetric environment. You can actually get some realistic fog as well for very, very interesting scenes. But for now, I'm just gonna lower the height a bit lower so I could actually see some light coming from the sunlight. Let me see. right, there's not much coming through. So a few things I'm going to change. I'm going to lower it even more and change the fog color to a bit more less saturated blue. Right, what's happening is as I've added this light mix layer through these channels, I'm able to individually change every light. So I could even turn everything off and see. So the mesh light was the one inside the pool. I can see the lights, the pool lights, the ones, the other discs, LED lights. I can turn on these other spotlights as well. This one was the light coming from this light pole. Environment light is coming from the general environment and sky and self-illumination. So turn everything on and rest. So while rendering, I can change all these factors. I could even later on save this image as a V-Ray scene file and edit it again in for instance, tomorrow. And here I can experiment with the strength of all these lights. For instance, first thing I wanted to change, everything looks kind of dark. So I can go to this exposure layer and make the scene look at least lighter. All right. Then if I wanted to add some extra contrast, increase the contrast a bit. If I wanted to add some more filmic effects, I could also just add another layer called filmic tone map. Or another one called vignette, where I could just kind of feather out the edges of the image to give a bit more presence to the middle of this image, right? And yeah, this is where I really would like to get more of a final render at least. I would have to wait, I guess, another half an hour or so, but already you can see there's some very interesting effects you can add. What else I wanted to do is show an important effect. It's these lens effects. I guess I will have to pause this render right now. I can turn on denoiser. It's gonna remove all of the noise in the scene. It's doesn't look too good if I turn it on too soon. You lose a lot of detail, but at least it looks a bit sharper at least. And what I can turn on are these lens effects. So from these, okay, it looks too bright right now. From these spots where you have very bright light, you'll be able to get these lens flares, interesting effects. I guess this denoiser is just messing a bit too much with the image, but there you have it. I could go on with all these effects materials and objects, but I hope you got some idea of how V-Ray works, what are the capabilities, how to work with our libraries, and hopefully you'll get some fantastic end results in your competition. Just if you need some extra learning materials, you can also go to Chaos website. There's a learning section, for instance, for V-Ray, and there's just some short tutorials as well, either for V-Ray or Enscape and for any given platform as well. So I'll be sure to post the end render as well, because at least half an hour for it to finish baking, right? It should look a bit more interesting. But okay. Thank you everyone for attention. Maybe there are any questions about V-Ray and rendering itself.
Thank you, Kārlis. Thank you for the presentation. Yeah, final. No, actually, for now, students don't have any questions, and the chat is empty for us, and also Q&A session is empty. So probably everything is very clear, and the projects and designs will be at the full clarity and capacity, yeah, all the renders. So just to remind you guys that yes, this bigger bridge scale, it's also for the additional price from the chaos.com for the best render that you can get. Basically, there is additional price as well. So it's worth trying, I think. And then, yes, thank you, Kārlis, for the trainings. This was the third training for the students' competition. And then, yes, already it's not so far the submission date. So we will wait for the designs from the students. Okay, then probably thank you.
All right.
And see you next time, all of you. Okay, have a great week and goodbye.
Goodbye.